Today, I'm going to hit all healers, empaths, and light workers with some shocking truths. And these are the hard lessons that nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to hear. So if you're going to stay on for this video, you really need to belt in. You need to get your big boy or big girl pants on, and you need to buckle up because you're going to hear some really uncomfortable stuff that I had to hear. This was about my journey. It's going to be about your journey. This is everyone's journey. And as with healing, you'll already be in the zone where people doubt you. Well, this is going to be the most uncomfortable part of the ride. This is the part that most people can't get their head around. And this is the fact that whether you want to admit it or not, that you, my friend, have a dark side. You are the dark side of the force as well as the light. And the only way that you can truly integrate all of your healing capabilities is to make friends with your dark side because it has a productive purpose. And I'm going to explain that for you in this video. And if you are in the world of healing, if you're an empath, if you're a light worker, if you're a person that loves to do good in the world, if you're a person that's been wronged by people, if you've had to deal with narcissism, if the world seems to be going increasingly mad at the moment for you and you can't make sense of it, then this stuff that I'm going to tell you today could be life-changing. It was for me when I realized it. But I am 50 plus, so I've had a bit more life experience than most people on the healing journey. And I'm going to pretty much record a video now that if I could go back to my 20-year-old self, this is the advice that I would give myself. And this is the advice I'm giving to you if you're on the light worker path. Because so many people will tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you about that you can heal the world, you can use these tools for good, that you can make miraculous changes, and you can. All of this is true, my friends. I've seen it. I've been there. I've done it. When you start working with energy, incredible things happen. And most people won't believe it. They won't believe. They won't even believe you on this journey at some of the stuff that you do. So you're already having to deal with derision, with doubt, with naysayers, with people that just don't get it. I used to get quite a lot of people say, oh, it's Adam and his woo-woo mates or on his woo-woo path. He's off again. He's off again. You know, here he goes. Whenever I used to broach this subject. So for many years, folks, I used to not talk about my healing journey and stuff that I did in the world of energy and things like that because it was distancing my stuff, it was distancing me from my friends. And the reality is that here I am 25 years later from going through that uncomfortable part of my life. And about 2% of my friend network are still my friend network. And it's going to mean letting go of a lot of people. It's going to mean making new friends. It's going to mean waking up. That's what this is ultimately about, folks. It's waking up. So those of you that follow my channel, you'll know a lot of my content. You'll know a lot of what I'm about. You'll know the principles, the founding principles that I use when I talk about the wellness aspect, the healing aspect, the getting in touch with your darker side aspect. So what I'm going to do now is really, I'm going to give you the piece of the puzzle that's missing for most healers. And that is, and wait for it, this is going to hurt. And you're not going to believe me if you're new to this journey. But the fact is that you have a darkness within you that unless you've realized it and owned it, that will have you at odds. It will compromise you. And the worst part about this, until you wake up to this phenomenon, you will attract increasingly dark forces in your world because our outer world reflects our inner world. Now, this is an advanced spiritual principle, and some of you will get it instantly. Probably the people that are further on down the track, people new will say, no, that's not true. There's no way that all of these tossers that I'm attracting into my life at the moment could possibly reflect my inner world. Couldn't be. Couldn't be. I'm not like that. Well, the fact is, folks, that there is a part of us that is unexplored. There is a part of your personality that you don't know yet. There is a part of yourself that you haven't owned. And that is the part of yourself that hasn't been put in an extreme stress situation. So let's bring this alive. So back in 2002. I was traveling around in Brazil. I was put in a situation where somebody held a loaded gun to my head. Now, it's the only time it's ever happened in my life. Someone I didn't know. And you can speculate. I could have speculated all day, every day. What would I do if someone ever did that? And the fact is, you never know until it's done. You never know until somebody does it to you. You just don't. You can speculate all you like. And more so, for a healer and empath, this is probably a bigger one. Because healers and empaths tend to care less about their own lives than people they love the most, their friends and their family. And that's also part of the healer's journey, is to redress that balance and to love yourself as much as you do with your best friend. But I've done many videos about that aspect of our development, so I'm not going to labor on that point. But what I am going to say is that if somebody in a situation in a foreign country, if you were backpacking and you were in a situation where somebody was definitely going to kill someone that you loved, what would you be prepared to do to stop that from happening? Now, you can start speculating on that question right now, but I'm telling you for certain that you don't know. You don't know if you haven't fully embraced your dark side. Because for me, having fully embraced my dark side and being able to come out the other side and to film this video for you, I can tell you that if it was me or my friends and somebody that I didn't know that was threatening our lives, then I'm doing whatever it takes to stay alive and keep my friends alive in that situation. And you don't get that through being Mr. Healer or the spiritual guru or the person that's going to start doing hands-on healing in that situation. It just isn't going to happen, folks. Now, you might say to yourself, I would never do it. I would never do it. But you've never been in a situation where your life of the person you love the most, if it was your child, for example, what wouldn't you do to save their lives? And the fact is, I'm not a parent, but I know it. I know what I would do, even if it was my niece and nephew, then I certainly know how I would react, or at least I would do my best. There would be no holds barred at that stage. And that ultimately is the manifestation of the dark side of our personality. There is a set of circumstances that could happen to you that may seem unlikely to happen to you, but they could, that would force you in a position where you would have to you'd have to act with the darkest of intentions. And you can, whether this is justified or not, part of you might say, yes, but in that situation, it would be justified. Well, it doesn't matter whether it would be justified or not. The fact is that you, my friend, have a dark side. And if you haven't owned that yet, then the odds are you have not put yourself in even remotely stressful enough situation to even ponder that, to realize it. Because there's a dark side within all of us. And only through owning that dark side of you can you really truly embrace the light. We give more light when we own what is dark within us. Now, you might think, you might have, you might know somebody, or you might have some sort of guidance here. It may be a spiritual, religious entity. It could be the Buddha, could be Jesus, and say, well, they would never do that. They would always do peace and forgiveness. That's great. But are you truly a transcendental, enlightened being, folks? I can tell you for certain that I'm not. I'd like to think that when I'm healing, I operate within that spectrum, within that vibration. I know how to shift my energy so that I am at a higher vibration. But how long do I stay there? How long do you stay there? As healers, we can raise our vibration, but how long do we stay there, folks? That's the question. It's a completely fluctuating thing on the vibrational scale. And 1 minute you could be giving healing, you could be in a massively high vibration, you could be in the miracle healing zone. You could be there facilitating seemingly miraculous events, and you can as a healer. And just to caveat that, You cannot cause somebody to heal completely. They can only do that for themselves. But what you can do is hold the space for that to happen. This is what healers do. You can hold the space for it to happen. And you can do that by channeling energy and holding the space. And if somebody is ready to heal, they'll heal themselves. And if they're not, they're not. But that's another conversation for another day. I talk enough about the healing stuff on all my other videos. Today is about the darkness, my friends, the darkness that is within you, the darkness that may or may not have had a little glimmer of a light. I want you to be honest now. I want you to think of the situation when the person that pissed you off the most, or a life or death situation. You know, for some people, it may even be just a glimmer of road rage. But there is a set of circumstances I'm willing to bet that if somebody was to say, how about we bring back gladiatorial arenas and people can fight to the death? Now, if you're a light worker, a healer, empath, you're saying that's a terrible idea. But what if we then said, well, we'll only do it for child rapists? And you might be tempted to say, well, that sounds reasonable. That's where it starts, folks. That's where it starts. Now, I'm not saying that I would be completely opposed to that, but the fact being that there's always a point that starts somewhere. They did experiments. There's actually a film and a set of experiments with a researcher who went in to prove that people didn't just blindly listen to orders or authority. And this was interesting. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I will look it up. I encourage you to look it up. It was an experimenter who basically in the wake of the Nuremberg trials, where all of the SS officers, the Germans, said orders are orders, we were just following through orders. He wanted to do a set of experiments to say, well, you know, people wouldn't blindly follow orders. And he went in to prove that that was the case. And what they got was a guy dressed as a doctor. They put up a screen and they had an actor on the other side of the screen. And the doctor was saying, right, press this button. And for all the purposes of the person that was pressing it, they didn't know that it wasn't real. They had an actor the other side. And every time they pressed the button, they'd go, ah! They'd let out different ranges of screams. And the doctor kept upping the voltage, or apparently upping the voltage, and getting people to press it. And what this experiment found was there was only one person in the whole experiment that said no. And the actors were clearly letting out some really big screams at certain points. And they proved conclusively that when people of authority give orders, most people will follow. And that's the truth, folks. We're all a little bit sheep. It is the truth. It is the truth of society. It is the truth when you look at the COVID situation, when you look at what people were doing, at what people were following the narratives. Some people knew it was wrong. Some people knew that locking people up in their homes, that there was nothing in it, or there was something suspicious, or taking, I'm not even going to say it, folks. It's too controversial and I'll probably get delisted from certain channels. But the point being that you felt it, folks. If you're a healer, an empath, or a light worker, you have felt it. When authority speaks, most people become sheep. And when push comes to shove, there's a little bit of evil in all of us. There's a dark side, folks, a dark side of the Force. You are Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. The two are inseparable. And that is the reality. Until you own the darkness within you, the true darkness, that there is situations, or there certainly are situations out there, that you would be the darkest force on the planet. Only momentarily, maybe. Just momentarily, just for a split second or two. But you've done it. You've been that dark force. We have these moments where we just dark just for a second, and then you like glitch. It's like a glitch in the Matrix. Your healing, light working brain that says, oh my God, I can't believe I just thought that wasn't me. And you delete it, delete the programming. It's like recording the CCTV footage and it catching something of incriminating evidence. You're going to go and delete that piece of the footage. And then you're going to justify yourself that that was a glitch. not a glitch, folks. Darkness lies within you. And as a healer, a light worker, and an empath, you will never access your true healing potential, your true human potential, your true energy potential until you own that aspect of who you are. And I don't care who you are. By all means, you may have things that you want to talk about. You may have questions or comments. I encourage you, unleash your darkness, folks, or unleash the part of you that says, I'm not dark. There's no way I would ever do anything like that. Not me. Not me. This bloke is talking bollocks. I'm happy to have that debate with you, my friend. Leave your comments. But if you really want to amplify your energy and get the most out of this video, especially if you're still watching now, because statistically, most people will have switched off now. So if you're still listening, you know that there's truth in what I'm saying. You know it. You can feel it. You might not yet be ready to own it, but you can feel it and you know it. You know that there's truth within this message, and this is the uncomfortable truth that you probably didn't want to hear. And you may even be regretting that you pressed play on this video. But the fact is, you absolutely needed to hear this, and you know that there's truth in, and you know that the dark side is strong within you, my Padawans. So on that light little message, let's tail off and say, look, folks, if you're still watching now, you know that there's resonance in the message that I bring. And I encourage you to like and subscribe to the channel because there'll be more nuggets for you. And this is probably the darkest video that you're going to hear from me. The rest is all uplifting and light. And speaking of which, there's a video there, which is probably a step in the direction after you've got your way through this. So thank you, my friends. Thank you, my dark Padawans. And keep your light shining and your darkness awake.